Welcome to Live with VIDE. I am your commissioner, Dr. Dion Wells Hedrington, and this is where we are able to give the latest and the greatest that is happening at the Department of Education on this platform. So thank you for joining us today. I have two very special people here in the studio with me this morning, hailing from Gomez, Joseph Gomez Elementary School. I have with me
Dr. Shonor Prince, Assistant Principal.
Thank you.
And Tashina Rogers, Principal.
So we started the school year. Tell me about the first day of school at Joseph Gomez. How was the first day? How were the students? Did the parents show up? Did the dad show up? What happened on that first day?
The first day was exciting. Parents showed up in loads, lots of parents. We welcomed them in. We were at the gates. We had our paraprofessionals, everybody there to support them. The parents came in, they got to meet their teachers. The students were excited to be there. It ran very smoothly on the first day. Ms. Rogers?
What was your take?
So we know that parents are excited to know exactly where their students are. So we had bulletin boards posted with all of their students and class information. They were excited to find out where their students were going to be. They rushed up to the classrooms. Everybody was excited that they were actually able to go into the classrooms to meet the teachers, to see exactly the environment where their students would be.
And so overall, you would say you had a very successful opening.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Awesome. So I invited both of you here to talk a little bit about instruction and some of the work that you have done for the past school year and is being carried into this school year. And for the community, we started a leadership cohort that included a partnership with NAEP, the National Academic Educational Partners, who have been in the territory working with 6 schools. You guys are one of the 6 schools. Tell the community a little bit about what happened last year before we jump into what we expect for this school year. What happened with the NAEP partnership last year, Principal Rogers?
So we definitely did a lot of things to high standard. There, we are able to hold ourselves accountable and our teachers accountable. We had our MTSS block. We also had our patient guide that the teachers followed. We did a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of feedback, and provide a lot of support to help our teachers meet the standards.
What was your take on it?
So my take, as a first year assistant principal.
That's right.
Yes, that's
Yes.
my first year.
Yes.
NAEP served as my little AI agent. They guided me. They laid out a platform for me to follow. They were on call, supported me through this whole first year. Without them, I don't think I would have such success in administration because it's much different from the classroom.
Right. And so one of the things that I know as, a principal, I started as an assistant principal, and all the way to superintendent. I wanted to make sure that when I sat in a seat as an assistant principal or even as a principal, that I didn't forget how I felt when I was a teacher. And one of the things that I lacked was that one-on-one support, that coaching, because people take for granted that, yes, you may have a degree in teaching, but I don't mean you know how to teach. Walking into a classroom looks different from being in a classroom, learning about pedagogical skills and instructional strategies that you need to then implement in your classroom. So coaching is critical. And Principal Rogers, you said something that you did a lot of walkthroughs. Tell me how the teachers were when you started to do the walkthroughs, because there's always this resistance to people coming into my classroom. Like, I'm on the spotlight. I don't want them in here in case I mess up. Tell me what that looked like for the teachers.
So we did walkthroughs previously, but the last year we did a lot more walkthroughs. And with anything like change, teachers are always resistant to that. You're always in our classroom. You don't give us a break. Every time we turn, you're in there. You gotta give us a break. But eventually throughout the year,
Okay.
when we pull them in, okay, well, this is where we see you were going, because we don't want the walkthrough to be as if it's something punitive.
Correct.
Our walkthroughs are to be in there to help guide you to be successful, because your success is the student's success. So, we did our walkthroughs, we have a checklist, we walked through in all blocks, the MTSS, the tier 1s, the tier 2s, even in our special subject blocks we did as well. And we're just ensuring that they are keeping on task, keeping on pace, that the questionings that's happening in the classroom is happening, that there's active learning happening. And for the most part, by the end of the year, it became the norm.
Right.
It became the norm. Teachers that were fighting against it, it's just the way it is now.
Right.
And you can see the difference in the students' attitudes, in their learning, and the teachers.
What was your take? Because I know that you guys have different levels that you supervise.
So I have the intermediate level. As Ms. Rogers said, there was pushback to the beginning, but sooner we got the teachers to understand the difference between coaching and evaluation. So once they realized we were there to support them and provide them feedback, so when evaluation time came, we were more welcomed. Additionally, we worked as a team. When they saw Rogers, they saw Dr. Prince. They saw Dr. Prince, they saw Miss Rogers, and of course, Miss Skelton. So we never went in alone, because Miss Rogers might have a different vision. I might see something different from the other side of the room. So the teachers, it could be more objective and not subjective in our feedback, and that's how we supported them. So by the end of the year, it was like, when we didn't go, they could have said, Dr. Prince, I didn't see you for this week.
So that
they
is
realized.
Right, that's a shift in mindset. So walk us through. Okay, so you conducted the evaluation or the walkthrough, sorry, on a more heightened level, meaning you were in there a lot more. How did the teachers know the feedback? Like, did you have to pull them in one by one to give feedback? How did that process work? If you walked into a room and whether it's good praise or there's corrective things that need to take place, how was that communication? What did you do?
Well, there are different types of feedback. So we did a 4-1 model. We visit 4 classrooms, feedback to 1. If it's something that needed correction right away, we stop it where we see it. But otherwise than that, it would be either sticky or send them an email in the afternoon, letting them know, when I came to visit your classroom, these are the things I saw, these are the things I like, these are the things we could work on. Let me know how we could always help.
I love that.
We also did where there were some teachers that we still had to pull in. We gave them the feedback, but now we have to, delve deeper into exactly what went wrong and how we could support you to make things right. So we'll do those pull-ins, sit down, have a meeting, go through the lesson, go through the pacing guide, exactly what activity you gave, type of questions that you're asking, so that it's a full participation. And they got it, and they were able to implement it. Now we go back, okay, we're gonna see you do this in another lesson, and we're able to ensure that they're carrying it over, not just doing the coaching, but to make sure that they're also implementing it as well.
Right, so you have some time for them to develop the skills, and then you come back and observe.
Correct.
Okay, I like that. You talked about raising the bar. Why did you make that statement? What do you mean when you say we're raising the bar in terms of, I guess, in terms of how we do, or how we practice as professionals, in terms of what it is that we demand from our employees? How was that bar raised? What shifted with this partnership that wasn't there before as a seasoned assistant principal?
Definitely accountability.
Okay.
Accountability, there's a standard we held, and we stuck to that. We, both Dr. Prince and myself, we collaborated to make sure that we were on the same page. Dr. Prince isn't going to go in and see something, and I see something different, because then the staff sees the difference. She says something different, and then there's not a unified front when it comes to the lessons. So there was a standard that we kept. We allowed the teachers to give feedback. We provided feedback and explained how things were supposed to be, and we kept to that. Because holding ourselves accountable, we hold them accountable. And eventually, the students reach the success.
Okay. And so for you?
I think the bar was risen because we have a lot of system and processes here, and the NAEP organization helped us tie it in. Whether on the teacher side, if I could go back in a classroom or work on the NAEP, it would be good. I thought I was an excellent teacher, but seeing all these systems, especially when you come to your MTSS, the kind of support we could provide these children, really appreciated how they
Yeah,
help
and
us.
I was speaking to one of my colleagues the other day about the backlog that we have in special education of students that need to be evaluated. And I said, you know, once we get this multi-tiered system of supports really in the place that it needs to be, you'll see those evaluation numbers go down, you know, because now we're addressing those gaps at an earlier time. And so talk a little bit about MTSS and how that framework, and to me, the biggest thing that I saw in this department walking into this seat, having sat in numerous seats, is there was always a difference in how we did things from the St. Thomas St. John district to the St. Croix district, or even from school to school. But now we have a framework that we are using territory-wide. And that framework is no different in Gomez School to what they're using in probably Lawson and St. Croix. And so now this framework is really giving that clear path or guidance to everybody. So in your MTSS blocks, how has that been going?
It's a lot of personalization. So at the beginning of the year, they're tested. And so we see where they're scored. And the teachers now have their groups made up based on the student scores. So they're grouped based on their levels. And in this MTSS block, we really are able to hone in on those skills that the students need based on their levels. So, you know, they're a group of at least 5 students that sit and have that small group instruction based on their weaknesses. They do it in math and in reading. And then the other groups also in a class are also on My Path, in iReady. They're also doing other areas for their tier 1 to help increase. So it's really a personalized system that really helps the students to grow.
Yeah, just to add, the interchange of the different modalities help the different type of learners we have. We have the hands-on learners who might be doing a tier 1 activity to still learn the skill that we have to learn on grade level. We also had our tier 2 who would be with the teacher, and then of course the technology. And this rotated weekly, every day. Every day they change which group that they were in.
And so those teachers felt comfortable enough with implementing the framework, or did they need extra coaching with the MTSS framework?
Yes, at the very beginning they were not comfortable. It was something new.
Right.
It was new for Ms. Rogers and myself. So we know of MTSS, but not in this model. Like you said, it's different across schools. So they weren't comfortable, but we assured them that we're gonna guide them there. We're doing this together. You're not alone. So go in, visit them more often, provide feedback, support them, go back to our partners' need, get advice from them to continue to push them forward.
So I think that overall we could say and agree that we've laid the foundation.
Yes.
The foundation is laid, and we all know that in order for a house to stand, we have to have a good foundation. So if we're going to see the shift in the department, that foundation needed to be laid. So what do you expect to see this year? Now that the foundation is laid, your people have been trained, what are we seeing this year? What do you anticipate as the administrators guiding this work in your building? What do you anticipate that you're going to see this year?
Well, from the data that showed that we had a lot of growth, I intend to see excitement from the teachers. They believe in themselves a little bit more, and that passes down to the students, that excitement. I expect to see the teachers are more fluid with the MTSS versus tier 1. And we're gonna have a little stumbling now that they're introducing tier 3. It's gonna be a learning curve again, but being that they had the growth before, they'll be open to continue this challenge.
Right.
And also there's an MTSS tracker. So now they're able to I think before they were just doing it because it was part of the process, but now they'll be able to look deeper into the data. Okay, what I did this tier 1, their tier 2, the students didn't meet their goal. So let me see how I can dig deeper into it. So utilizing the data from last year, less use of it to this year, I think they're going to make greater gains.
So you mentioned data, and data drives everything that we do. And I found that in the past we've been data rich, but not using the data the way that it should have been using. How comfortable, well, I shouldn't even ask you this, but I know the answer, but the community doesn't know the answer. How comfortable are you with the use of the data, and how often do you look at the data, and what do you use the data for in your buildings?
Well, we look at data regularly, daily. We're in there looking at their scores. We're pulling them in our grade level meetings and looking at their test results of their classes. We're looking at the MTSS tracker to see if the students are making their growth. They have to use iReady a certain amount every week, and we're monitoring that to ensure that the growth comes. So the daily use of it also helps with our growth. So we're monitoring the data every day.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that we've gone away from data just being a pretty image on the wall.
Yes.
You walk into school, you see the
Yes.
pretty colors.
Yes.
So we understand the data, and we now more understand how the scores are calculated, how a child is showing growth, how to calculate that, how to guide the teachers, how the teachers use the prerequisite and scale it down to match where each children are.
And so where in this mix are the students? How do we empower our students to know their data and to use it?
So where we have empowered the students, we have a tracker and given to each teacher. They sit with each child, they have a conversation with them. They get to color in a little graph. They show them where they're at. They set goals. Where do you want to be? Things, what will you do to get where you want to be? So students are aware of where they're performing.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned with us as we're talking about this leadership cohort that is expected to cause great gains, not only at Joseph Gomez, but across the territory. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Live with VIDE. I am Dr. Dion Walsh-Hedrington, Commissioner for the Virgin Islands Department of Education. And with me today are two administrators hailing from Joseph Gomez Elementary School. I have Assistant Principal Dr. Prince here with me, as well as Principal, first year Principal Tashina Rogers. And I am excited for the good things that are going to come out of Joseph Gomez. What's your mascot again? Lions?
Lions.
Lions. And what do lions do?
Roar.
They roar. So we expect our students to be roaring into this new school year. And so we left off talking about students and how do we empower students to take ownership of their growth. And you mentioned that students are aware exactly of where they are and they're able to set goals. How does all of that we're doing, whether it's with the teachers, with the students, how does that transfer to the parents? How involved are parents in this work that we're doing, and what can we do differently if we're not reaching our parents to get them more excited about the instructional work that we're doing within your building? What can we do?
So we do have our active PTA, and we have a lot of parents that do participate. Definitely, we send out in our newsletters and our monthly calendars when we're having testing, and we also encourage parents to participate. We had data meetings with the parents.
Okay.
So we, show them the data, show them where we were, show them how they can help us to get to our goal. I think having those meetings, keeping them informed when we're having a testing, how to help us to prepare their students helps with the success. It's a, partnership that we need.
You said it. It's a partnership. Parents, you have to be actively engaged. You gotta show up to the school. You gotta ask the right questions. You have to know where your child began and where you want your child to end. But it all depends on us working this thing together. And so, do you do any friendly competitions in your school? Because I know some of the schools, would have like trackers of student performance last year and set goals and who reaches the goal. We have anything going on in terms of competition? How do we celebrate the successes? And do you know offhand what some of those successes were that you could share with the community?
We celebrated the successes of the students and the grade levels a lot last year.
We did.
From popcorn sales, so
Okay.
popcorn giveaway, to pizza, to popsicles, to ice cream.
To Wendy's.
To Wendy's, to our students. So we continue to celebrate them across grade level. Attendance, who are the best attendance. Yeah, so we did a lot.
And they were very receptive to that.
Very. And if they, well, I only miss one day, and they're tracking their own to
Yeah.
make sure that they reach where they're supposed to go.
So one of the things that I did when I was way back in the day as a principal, we used to have the open houses. And I know we do have open houses scheduled. I don't know how they're structured now. But what we did in my school was the open houses were set up just as if the students were coming into the respective classes, meaning at each desk we had the students' information out, and we had a separate chair at the desk, and the parents would sit in the students' chair, and the students would be going through their folders with the parents to explain where they were and what they were doing. I think that was an excellent strategy because both parents and student get to talk about their performance. How do you, what is your intention for the open houses coming up? And is that something that you think could benefit your campus in terms of using the students more as a voice for their own performance versus, the teacher getting up and saying, hey, this is this. When students speak, parents listen. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with you on that. The students need to be able to explain, so they have to know as well.
Right.
So that's something that we encourage our teachers to always, provide that feedback to the students so they can understand where they are and how to get to their goal. And so having the open house where the students are able to explain to their parents, this is where I started off, Mommy, when I took the beginning of the year. However, this is where I am and this is where I would like to reach, will help the parents to kind of give that extra push and provide the support they need for their child. So I totally agree with you that that's something that we need to implement in our open houses as well.
I agree with Ms. Rogers. Just might I add, we first crossed the first step where we now got them eager and interested in the data because they didn't understand this or any meaning to them. So that's a good step for them to move forward to.
I think it would do well for your school, and I think parents would value it a little bit more. Just based on feedback from parents, they're a little bit intimidated to come into school. And I used to tell my parents all the time, listen, we're not here to judge, we're not here to categorize you in a different level because you may not be educated, that you can't have a conversation about your child's performance. You have to have that vested interest because, again, it's a partnership. And partnerships mean that everybody has a voice, right?
Correct.
And so parents need to be empowered to come in and ask the questions. How is my child doing in MTSS? Where is my child on the spectrum? What can I do from home to assist my child? But I think the biggest assistance that a parent can give is that motivation.
I agree.
That support. Hey, you went to school today, have an awesome day. When they come back, how was your day? Those little things make a big difference. So, we just skate with attendance. Tell me about your chronic absenteeism at Gomez. Because it's not unique to Gomez, it's across the territory. So what are some attendance initiatives that you guys want to implement this year? How was the attendance last year? Was there a growth in terms of more students coming to school regularly, or are we still struggling in that area?
Well, our scores dropped a bit. Definitely our kindergarten class. So we didn't jump on it from the beginning of the year, and we jumped on in January where we did a whole school meeting on all those parents that have those chronic, rates. And so we had those meetings. We encouraged them. I don't think they know it's important to come to school, but I don't think they realize the effect it made on our scores. So, explaining to them, the importance of coming to school, the importance of having them in school to learn the curriculum in order for them to do better. There are many excuses. Oh, the child has a cold, they keep them home for 2 weeks. Or they figured that they had to get a doctor's note, and maybe the Eastern Clinic didn't have an appointment right away. So there are many factors, and we had to kind of remove the different barriers that was holding them back from bringing the students back to school. And of course, there are some that we had to, go to their homes in order to get them, to the school, to encourage them to come. But I think we're on the right path. We jumped on it first thing this year. We're already 3 days in, and we have already made calls to any students that may have missed a day. Just letting them know that we want to see them. We miss them, and we want to make sure that they're coming to school regularly.
Awesome. Anything else?
I'll just add that one factor that parents need to realize is that when we come in, especially to the end of the school year, we have the awards day, the whole pack up, attendance still matters. Because those days is what I would feel crippled us.
Yeah.
It took away from us when they stopped sending them because, they're not doing anything at the school anymore. So they need to know that attendance matters.
To the last day.
To the last day. Like Ms. Raja said though, now we are more equipped because we have the students who are chronic from last year that we're paying attention to from early.
So I had a conversation with one of my colleagues about attendance. He does not work in the Department of Education, but a lot of people are tracking the conversations that we're having. I've mentioned it on the Senate floor because I feel like, all my schools are doing these different strategies, but we're not seeing the kind of impact that we need to see. So we still have large numbers of students who are not showing up. And so I've made the clarion call. I need all my partners to be at the table. Let's try to figure out how we're going to do it. In my last board meeting, one of the members said, well, why don't you take their SNAP away? I said, I don't control SNAP. That's something Human Services has to partner with the department to do. But at the end of the day, me taking SNAP from them means that my student is not going to eat, and that's not going to work for me because nutrition is important, right? So getting people to see, how impactful missing one day is on a child's education. And so my colleague said, well, why don't you make parents come in? Every day a child misses a day, you have to sit with your child in a school. I said, I don't know. That's something that I would put out there and see, how my colleagues feel about it. I definitely will not be the most lovable commissioner ever, but I think it could send the kind of message that we need sent. I don't know what to do, but I know that it has to be something drastic.
Yes, I agree.
And kindergartners don't bring themselves to school.
Correct.
They don't bring themselves to school. But there's a perception that nothing happens in kindergarten. Talk a little bit about what happens in kindergarten so that people don't just think that kindergartners come in and sleep all day and play all day. There's learning that takes place in kindergarten. So a typical day in kindergarten could look like what?
First off, when they start off in kindergarten, most students, when they start, they don't even know the sounds of the alphabets. So they're learning the sounds, they're learning to blend the sounds to make words. By the time the students leave kindergarten, they're learning how to read. So it is a key grade level that they need to be in school. Because if you miss a day, you may miss a sound, you miss how to blend, you're not able to learn how to read by the time you leave. So even the mathematical skills, they're learning geometric shapes, they're learning addition, subtraction. These are key foundational skills that is needed for the first grade.
Right.
So you miss out, then when you get to first grade, you're
already starting with a gap, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to add, kindergarten is where the other aspects of our human starts. Our social skills, the ability to motor skills, do other things other than academic. They need to be in school. That's the only way we're going to learn those things. Come in there with a large environment and other students.
Right. So we don't just sleep in
No.
kindergarten.
We don't sleep
because
anymore at all.
but that's how people feel. That's
Oh.
what happens in kinder. So if my child miss a week, what's a big deal? Y'all don't do much in kindergarten anyway, and that's contrary to how our curriculum is set up.
Correct.
And there's a lot that happens in the development of the whole child. So we need all of our babies present in our schools. And yes, community, it does impact the overall results of our schools. And one of the things that I often hear the community say is that public education isn't working. Yes, public education is working. We don't have a resource issue. We don't have a systems issue. We've put the systems in place. But if we don't have bodies to use the resources and the systems that we've put into place, then we become ineffective. So everyday miss widens the gap that some of our students have. So send them to school. We want to see them. We want them present and accounted for. So tell me about your first week or your first couple days at Gomez. You know, we have the academics laid out, so we're going to touch a little bit on what nobody likes to touch on, especially me, since I don't control infrastructure anymore. But our buildings are aged, right?
Yes.
And so we have challenges in our buildings that we have to navigate on any given day. I got up this morning to air conditioners breaking down in 2 of my kitchens because of the power outage that we experienced this morning. So motor boards are being fried with the instability of our electrical grid. But in terms of your buildings, how did the first days go?
I think it went well. I would say we have minor infrastructure issues.
You know, you're blessed to say that.
Yeah, I feel I feel good to say we have minor things now. Everything is not perfect.
Right.
We'll like things a little bit better, but they are minor. We had a classroom that has some mold issues. We remedied that situation already, working with a teacher. See, what Ms. Rogers and I want to establish is a open collaboration with the staff. It's not about Ms. Rogers or myself or Gomez. It's for all of us. We all have to work together.
Right.
So other than that, and maybe the playground,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there is anything. We have a few ACs that were down, but we're getting them up.
Yeah.
And the teachers are working with us. They understand.
Because they
ACs are
feel the
down.
caring
Yeah.
is there.
Oh.
You said that you collaborate. And I think that sometimes that collaboration and that communication and honesty, transparency of where we are is not there. So people feel like, yeah, they don't care because they don't see me in the struggles that I'm going through, and that's far from where we are. So I am super happy for you guys that, you know, your infrastructure challenges are to a minimum. And based on my, you know, interactions with you guys, I don't think that you'll be waiting for anybody to do anything. You probably jump and do it yourself.
Yeah, we had some AC issues, and the Bureau gave us some ACs and hired our own AC tech and had them installed. So we made sure that everyone came out of a hot classroom into a cool.
See? And that's what we're looking for. You mentioned that you had some parents or some volunteers.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
So we have a very active PTA, and on Saturday and even throughout the year, they painted the bathrooms, they painted the classrooms, our halls, our doors needed to repaint. They were there on Saturday, provided some breakfast for them, and they were there working very hard. So I must say that our PTA people are very active.
And then you did some sprucing up with your murals. I saw
Yes,
some
we got
pictures
some
of
murals, we got our stairs,
You have your stairs painted?
affirmations going up the stairs, yeah.
Oh, okay. I have not gotten to Joseph Gomez as yet, but it is definitely on my list to visit. And that makes a difference. The students see that you're putting in the efforts to make their environment welcoming. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned with us. And thank you for joining us. Welcome back to Live with VIDE. I am Commissioner Dr. Dion Wells-Hedrington, and with me are the administrators from the Joseph Gomez Elementary School. We have Principal Rogers and Assistant Principal Prince. I want to talk a little bit about social media. And one of the things that I feel that the department is constantly battling is the negative press and the negative posts that are done by the communities, that the community members that we serve. And so yesterday someone sent me a video of Joseph Gomez students in a bar. And the caption was, "Is this appropriate?" And I'm like, why are these children at the bar? I need somebody to investigate this for me. Can you tell me what that was and when that was? And also in your response, let's talk about when your school starts and what parents are supposed to do.
Sure.
Yes.
So firstly, that happened before school start. It happens before and after school start. School is open. The gates are open from 7 to 3:30. When after school starts, it'll be till 5:30. But those are our hours for right now. Yesterday, the power was out. Parents have to go to work, or they maybe miss the media communication that was sent out and they left their child there at the bar. So we don't condone it. We think it's very inappropriate. We've had this discussion about how could we partner with the bar and the hours that they are open so our students are not traversing that area. But it's very hard to control a private business and how they function. So that is all that happened. Parents are leaving the children there with adults because they have to go to work, not Joseph Gomez are allowed in them there. And even if the gates are open at 7, if there are means and supervision, we will open the gate earlier, but we monitor coverage. We have someone there at 7 because we need more coverage in the afternoon when there's a lot more students.
And what time do you begin?
School starts at 8 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, and breakfast starts from 7.
Okay.
But I'm normally there, between 6:15, 6:30, and students are there from very early in the morning. And I'm passing them as I'm driving by, sitting at the bar.
So do you tell them, let's go?
So you tell them, let's go. They say, well, they want to get a pate or Johnny cake. They're waiting for the bar.
So they're purchasing food from this establishment.
And candy, they're trying to get their breakfast before they come. So we have to monitor them because sometimes when the bus drops them off,
that's what they do.
they'll sneak away to go to the bar. So we have to go down. Or
so we probably need to have some more conversations with the owners of that establishment because it's not a good look. It's not a good look for elementary children to be at a bar. And so, of course, the community is in an uproar, not understanding that parents are the ones who drop them children there. So parents, we don't need you to drop your children at a bar. School gates open at 7. Bring your child to school for 7. Stop putting them in establishments where things can happen, because the first thing they're going to say is they're on education's watch and we have them there, which is a narrative that was sent across the community. So if we're there, gates open at 7, we welcome them in for breakfast, and let's cut back on that type of behavior. Are those students who walk, or are students who are driven to school? Are there any walkers that you would say would stop at the bar as well?
Those are drop-offs.
Yeah, I would say a little bit of
parents go to work to St. John's and have to catch a 6 o'clock ferry. So sometimes 5:45, minutes to 6, they're there because they have to go to St. John's. So those are parents that are dropping them off.
So what I will say that we probably need to do is look into who they are and have those conversations, because that's a problem.
Yes.
Because at 5:45, who's responsible for that child?
Especially
when
in
our
the
doors
months.
open at 7. So that is definitely something that we can look into a little bit more deeper. If we need to get VIPD involved, then that's what we do, because the safety of these children matters.
Paramount, yeah.
And it's not that we're not flexible to the needs of our parents because they got to work. However, we have to come to some kind of agreement of what that would look like. Is there anything else you want to share with the community about the great work that you're doing at Joseph Gomez? Anything else?
Well, I just want to share that we're trying a lot of new things at Joseph Gomez to kind of change the culture and make sure we are doing a full circle collaboration between administration, staff, parents, students, So just bear with us. Things mightn't work perfect these first couple of days. We had a few snaffles Monday, Tuesday with students drop off. But today, it was a wonderful experience.
Okay.
Parents were receptive that today was Independence Day. It was time to let our babies come in and go to class by
I
themselves.
like that, Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
I stole it from another school. I think it's smaller. They're one of our partners. Oh yeah. So it was so it was.
So they
wonderful.
left them at the gate,
Yes,
not
so-
walking them into the classrooms and sitting.
Yes, yes. So other than the kindergartners, we allow to take a month for the parents to walk them in. They're still getting accustomed of who they are and where they're going to be. But for the most part, everybody else, we met them at the gate, we thanked them, warm hugs and goodbyes.
And you know, that amazes me. And I was telling one of my colleagues in St. Croix, you know, I dropped my children to the gate. Kindergarten. I did not walk in with my children. I'm not going to do that stuff. And I saw parents at the window crying because their children were going into kindergarten. I said, well, I must have, I missed that boat. I didn't do that. And my children were in school already, though. You know, they went to preschool. And so this wasn't their first school experience. But I literally saw parents crying because their children were going into kindergarten. I'm like, they're going to be okay.
It's
We're gonna
different from
do
child to child.
good. We're going to do good by them. Look at the environment. You have nothing to worry about. Just be here to pick them up in the end. But I love the Independence Day concept because they will be there every day if they could.
Yeah, if they could.
If they could. And so we don't want to say that you can't come back. You know, we definitely welcome that partnership. You come in, you could walk through once you have an appointment, whatever, follow the school rules. And, you know, we welcome that engagement, but not to sit and supervise so
Okay.
that the child could run to mommy or daddy every minute of the day. That independence matters as they're developing and growing as young scholars in our schools. So this year we're breaking barriers, we're setting records, we're becoming 5 stars. And so I think that you guys are on the right trajectory in terms of growth. Can you just share a little bit about what our growth look like? Because the community does not know what we mean when we say growth. What is growth? What are you talking about?
So our growth is where the students last year may have scored low or even at a mid-range. And this year, when they took the test, they jumped. So they may not have been high achievement like in a blue, but they may have gone from red into a yellow, red into a green. So that's the growth that we're talking about. And we had a lot of students, even our ELL community, that did really well. So our teachers are doing their part, our ELL teachers doing their part, and we are doing our part as well to help support them so that we can make the growth as well as the achievement.
So do you know any specific numbers in the growth? I want numbers. I'm like the people. Like, give me an example of what the growth looked like.
I think our numbers for growth was at 57.3. It was really good.
Yes.
It's really high.
And that's a testament. That's the evidence of the work that the faculty and staff and you as administrators put in to this work that we're doing with our partners. And, you know, we talked about pacing guides, and I said, I remember when I was a teacher spending hours doing my lesson plans and wondering if my principal even reading the lesson plans. Why am I doing this? You know, you don't even come to my classroom. This is just an exercise that I'm doing. And now we've given them pacing guides. So now it's about delivery. Yes. It's about implementation. You tweak it to meet your needs of your children, but everything is laid out.
Laid out.
We are all former educators. Tell me, what does that feel like, you know, as a former educator now having the opportunity to do this for your teachers?
It feels great. It feels great. So teachers can put the energy elsewhere to be in the star of their classroom. Being on stage in the classroom, that's really what teaching is.
Yeah.
Now that they have the information, and it helps keep all of us accountable. It ties us in. So when I go into our classroom, I know they're supposed to be doing module 4. We all on the same page that it's module 4. And there were times when teachers come out for pacing. We just now set those standards. Okay, come and see me. Let's see how we could get you back on pacing.
Back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the pacing?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it because, I mean, lesson plans takes up a lot of your time. And this is now more time that they could put into the activities, to put into doing their best in a classroom. And I think this is a great relief for them as well. Because this was a number one complaint. Everyone hated doing lesson plans.
Right.
So the fact that this is now off their plate is now for them to put that extra effort into their teaching, so our students can be successful.
And might I add, we have separate grade levels, so just as they had to write them, Ms. Rogers and I now have to spend evening hours going through plans.
Oh yeah,
Sometimes-
I forgot that piece.
Yes, we because we collaborate, I'm like, text Ms. Rogers, listen, I'm going to go through your plans. I already finished mine. I'm going to look, and she's going to do that. If Ms. Rogers at the time, she's going to say, Dr. Prince, I'm going to do your plan. So we cover each other because we always know what's on each other's plate, what we have to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
So what I find now, I'm flipping hats and I'm putting on your hat. And even the superintendent's hat, because now you have pacing guys. So even when the superintendent comes in and decides, hey, I'm gonna walk through a 4th grade ELA class today, English language arts class today, I know what they're supposed to be doing. So you even have that accountability piece from district personnel as well. And so I think that we've really invested in making sure that our educators are equipped. And so it's just a matter of execution. So you had 50% growth, you said?
I think it's 57.3. Don't quote me on it.
Okay,
Don't
but
put a
okay,
score,
we
but
had
I think
50% growth. We want what? 70%, 60% growth? What are we looking for this year? What is your projection?
Well, we would like 100%.
Love it, love it, love it.
100%, but
Yeah.
we're definitely going for at least at 70%.
70%
We're aiming
growth.
high.
We're aiming high. Well, okay, so we have set the record. We are setting more records now as we broken the barriers that have prevented us from being excellent in what we do. As mentioned today, we are invested in our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our administrators, in making sure that they have the tools that they need in order to be successful. So we're wrapping up our show, and I want to give you an opportunity to give a closing statement. Anything that's on your spirit that you would like to share with the community, this is the time to do so, Dr. Prince.
my closing statement would be, thank you, first of all, for what you provided for us. It was a great help. We thank our NAEP partners. And the final step is for everybody to show up, because we talked about students' attendance, but teachers showing up and administration showing up. Is everybody show up? We all hold each other accountable to making it a success.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, I'd also like to thank our NAEP partners. Without them, I really don't know where we'll be. They have given us great support. I mean, we can call them any time of the night. And they're there. Any questions, they're there to answer. We had any issues with, well, we don't really understand this. They're right there. They're right there to provide that hands-on support, coming, providing feedback on what we did well, what we didn't well, and to also help us grow as administrators in our own role. And so I'll definitely say this is a good team. It's a good team, and I do see that the Virgin Islands will, rise in our scores, because NAEP partnership is doing a great thing.
So you've heard it here. These are just two of the phenomenal 5-star administrators that we have territory-wide, talking a little bit about our partnership with NAEP as we work to produce champion schools. And we've laid the foundation, community, we've set the bar, and now it's full implementation, and we are definitely excited to see the growth and development that will happen in our children, because at the end of the day, we are in a profession that molds the community moving forward. And so we don't take that lightly. We are in this because we're passionate, we're committed, we're dedicated to improving public education here in the territory. So thank you for joining us in this conversation today. And stay tuned, we'll have many more conversations with those who are in the trenches, doing the work, making the sacrifices, and making a difference for our children. So at VIDE, we're breaking barriers, we're
setting records,
and becoming 5-star champion schools. Thank you, and see you soon.